Hey there, TLC Tribe. It's Veronica Jones at the Life Coaching Co here. And today I'm really excited to be introducing my special guest to you. I have the lovely Bronwyn with me here today, and she is based in Melbourne, and she's head of marketing and engagement. And Bronwyn came to me when she faced a career crossroads. And today she's kindly joining us to share the inside scoop on what her coaching experience was like, and of course, what transpired in the process. So without further ado, I'd love to get to it and introduce you to Bronwyn. Bronwyn, how are you?
I'm well, thank you, Veronica. Really delighted to be here with you.
Oh, thank you. It's wonderful to have you here today. So I thought I'd kick off with my usual let's get to know you question, which is perhaps you can just start by sharing a little bit about yourself and how you found yourself coming to this journey of coaching with me.
Yeah, thank you. I think I'll start from almost like that when we started together, because it was quite serendipitous that I think I came across you reached out, and I was at a point in my career where I was thinking I needed some professional support and help as I navigated both some things in my role and where I wanted to head. But to wind back the clock, my career journey started in a corporate sense. So I worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers as a junior, but with a global role in corporate social responsibility, which was an amazing proving ground to cut my teeth on work of impact. But also, I guess it's such a large firm, getting amazing training and development opportunities at the firm. I then moved on to the not-for-profit sector and took up a role at a quite well-known cancer charity, and was doing national partnerships and work in that space. And that was very gratifying work and a wonderful culture that I worked in. And then I moved on to, and why not, change the sector again. And I joined the university sector in UTS, and I was doing major gift fundraising and strategic planning for sport. That saw me then move to Melbourne with La Trobe University, and that's really when I was getting into my senior and executive level roles, managing and building a team, revenue lines and budget. And that was a really great 4.5 years at the university, growing partnerships, growing student engagement. And you can, I guess, get a sense that I was building a toolkit and a portfolio of things that really hung under engagement, strategic stakeholder relationships, partnerships and revenue raising, but for that sort of social impact. Wind the clock forward, and I did take a redundancy from La Trobe University to have that career break that I hadn't had since I started working. That was a really great 9 months of reflection and really saying to myself, well, what do I want moving forward? I did a quick stint in government at the Westgate Tunnel project. Not for me, met some great people, but then it saw me into my current role as head of marketing at a private school in Melbourne. And then that brought me to you and the work that we're doing together, that has both a professional and a personal lens, which I think in a coach was really interesting to find. I always thought that potentially you would need to just work with someone in one realm. But it's been fantastic to work with you with those complementary views and being able to have some discussions around, both my aspirations in a personal and a professional sense.
Yeah, fantastic. And I'm so glad we got to meet each other and work together. So fill me in, perhaps, if you would, on some of the challenges that you were facing at the time you contacted me.
I think I was I guess the crux of the challenge was not feeling aligned or stimulated from a purpose sense, particularly in my role. So it was around really questioning that I'd got to this point in my career, whether I was senior, on an executive salary, had grown a wonderful team. On paper, it really should have been my ideal job, working in a school, and it just wasn't working out like that. I was really questioning my values, what I was bringing to the table, and needing someone to help me navigate in a planned sense what the options were in front of me. Because I think when I've job hunted before, it has been a bit of a plug and play, but just looking for that next step along the ladder. And I really wanted to explore the breadth of things that I could do and have someone help me run point on that and look at different titles, different workplaces. And then again, as I mentioned, that complementary discussion and coaching around my own personal environment and what I wanted out of life was very appealing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that leads to my next question, actually. Can you tell me how you found coaching help you gain clarity and perhaps align where your passions were with your career and what you wanted to do personally?
Yeah, absolutely. So my situation is I'm single, I live alone, and it has been me navigating, making all the decisions. And so it's been such a pleasure and so refreshing to have someone running alongside me and running point with me. I also have very much benefited from and enjoyed the accountability that is set up within the coaching sessions, and having that regularity when we first kicked off together. I liked that it was, 8 sessions initially, and then you scaffolded those sessions into delving into things that you wanted me to think about, and particularly the blockages work for me was really good, again, professionally and personally. And then you've been very great at, and what I also just think is such value is your responsiveness, that when we've needed to move on an application or an interview, honestly, your responsiveness is second to none. And having your expert and that rockstar review eye on my documentation. And I think really your expertise has helped me lift the resumes that I'd crafted in a less senior point of my career, and being able to give that executive language that is really, setting me in good stead for where I am with my career and the type of level that I've achieved.
Fantastic. And on that point, how did you find that our coaching then was shaping up your approach to setting goals and the vision for your future career and indeed life?
So practically the sessions include homework. So as much as I think you're great in respecting almost the privacy of the work that I do in that homework, it does actually create a great discussion point. And if I do want to share that with you, we can do that in the sessions. I think you've also been good at actually pulling out the insights from me when I didn't even know I had my own insights. So it's amazing the knowledge and the guidance you have in yourself once someone like you who knows how to do it and get at it can tease out of you. And there's been a lot of epiphanies, again, both professionally and personally. It has been useful having you recap the sessions, so being able to go back and look at the key points, as well as having some of the recordings. Even now, I think that's a great library for me to reference, to have those recordings. And I have found that the way you structure those initial 8 sessions really layers well, and you do come out at the end feeling like that you're graduating. You're graduating with a rock star stamp of approval from Veronica.
That's so good. So, yeah, I mean, over those series of 8 sessions, which I do in my foundational program, we do get very strategic, as you're saying, on taking action. We've got, steps that come to you in an email. You've got recordings to listen to. We're moving the whole time. And on that note, how did you find your actions were shaping up differently on the back of the coaching sessions that you were having?
I would say what you give me and what I've executed on is actually key tactics. So again, it's so comforting to be working with someone who has had direct experience in the executive recruitment area. So you're not just talking offhand, you actually have the tips and tools of the trade from being a recruiter yourself. So that, I think, is a huge benefit to anyone working with you. I think also what's great is, as much as you give a range of tools and tactics, you're still very respectful of what'll work for that person and what they lean into. And then once they're sort of leaning into that area, you're always in the background supporting that, doing those reviews and being that cheerleader in the background. It's like, that's great, Bron, celebrating every kind of move. Recently, even the work that we did on an interview that I had coming up, I would have done maybe some of that preparation in my own head, but just having you actually rehearse with me and do those questions that were going to be coming down in the interview, really paid dividends as well.
Yeah, sensational. And to your credit, you took the action. And sometimes the actions we take can be a little bit of uncomfortable at first. So we're getting that stretch. And that's a good thing, as you and I know, because it's like when we're going to the gym, if we're just doing the same old weights, how are we going to build the muscle mass? So we want to have that stretch. We want to have that growth. We want to have, like you had with me, the run through that stretched you so you could go and then really perform in that interview and perform well, as you really did. And within those challenges that we have too, we often find that, as I like to call them, we've got these good old gremlins rolling around in the back of our mind, and there could be self-doubt, whether we think we've got the confidence to achieve a certain level in an interview, or could we even perhaps go for this kind of a role with these sorts of skill sets. We've got these old voices, these limiting beliefs roaming around. And I know you and I did some work on that, and there are many of my clients that we do this very similar work with to help, silence those voices so that we can go into interviews, or we can show up in a way we would like without having those voices so loud. So I guess I was wondering if you could share your insights on how you went about challenging those gremlins, getting out of the comfort zone, and what you found doing that in the coaching process.
I'm very comfortable and happy to share that the gremlin homework included naming my gremlins and, creating a persona for them. And I am quite a fan of Disney. So my gremlins ended up with names like Ursula, Oscar, etc. And even that exercise of giving them this kind of cartoon character took power away from them, and that ability to name them. And actually, I think going into it, you tend to think maybe you've just got this one large, hairy gremlin sitting on your shoulder. But the exercise of actually breaking them down and saying, well, this one might be the self-esteem gremlin, and this one might be the money management gremlin, etc., also was really helpful. Because that almost even makes them smaller instead of this, huge one sitting off to the side. And I think the exercises that you give like that, my experience doing them was really great from a structured self-reflection perspective. I must admit, coming in, I think I'm quite self-reflective anyway, but having a framework to do the reflection and dig a bit deeper than I would normally do was, again, insightful, helpful, instructional, refreshing, and unburdening.
Oh, wonderful.
Just writing things down was very unburdening as well.
Great. And I mean, that's a great breakthrough, being able to silence those gremlins and name them and claim them and just move on. What about perhaps another aha moment or something that felt like a breakthrough for you in coaching?
Yeah, when we cleared a blockage, like a major blockage, and that was attached to a personal belief, there was a huge insight about how long I had that blockage sitting there before I thought it had come up. So your ability to move from really professional pointed discussions to moments when you read the room and go, okay, Bron, I think we need to do this exercise. I've also really appreciated that. I don't think I could be coached by someone who was all business. It is someone who has those business skills and acumen and been at those executive levels, but can also have that great counterbalance and go, hey, let's have a cameras off moment. I think that this point in time deserves that, and I just want to work with you in this way. And that for me has also been why I want to continue to work with you, and we do continue to work together.
Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. And coaching is a partnership. So I think what you've alluded to there is a really valid point for anyone who's considering a coach. When you have these opportunities to maybe have a complimentary session or whatever it might be at the start, really feel into that if you feel like the coach is a good fit for you. And that's what you want to look for when you're going on this coaching journey, so you can get the very best out of it, just as you've done. And actually, I was wondering, with regards to your coaching experience, how did it maybe help you redefine your concept of fulfillment then within yourself and indeed personal success?
I think it's really helped me solidify that I personally don't follow a standard recipe for success, but I had been placing almost a banner of what I thought success would look like from an outside looking in. And so the ability to work with you on looking at my suite of skills and the level that I'm at and what I bring to the table, but going, let's actually look at these types of roles or this type of sector has been validating, because, again, having a lot of own self-talk and self-discussions, you do second guess yourself. So being able to bounce that off you and have you give me confidence to go for certain roles at levels that the gremlins maybe told me I wasn't ready for, has been wonderful and liberating as well.
Yeah, right. Sensational. And what habits or even routines did you find you were putting in place to support your personal goals and what you wanted to achieve in your career?
So I tried out a few different techniques that you gave me that I want to go back to, because I'm having just come back from holiday. Full mea culpa. I need to bring them back out of the coaching playbook. But we worked with a set of cards and intention setting. So again, being able to zone your focus and dial that into maybe if people are familiar with Eat Your Frogs approach, what is the frog you need to eat that day? Write that intention on the card and eat the bloody frog. So, and that is a technique I know I can draw on maybe for the right type of frog. You also provide journaling techniques and prompts and gratitude, which I think a lot of us are aware, but what you did was provide a really great recipe that was less woo-woo and more, you're going to do this. I work with my clients in this way and this is why. And actually there's science and research to back it up.
Yes, definitely. I'm all about the brain science and I'm all about tried and tested. That's for sure. And, you were you're crushing the gremlins, you're putting these new routines and structures in place. What impact did you actually find then in terms of your confidence and self-efficacy and how that was playing out during this coaching program?
So I've got to say the culmination, and now that I've graduated and we've moved into a different sphere together, but the culmination was a quote that you provided me from Tony Robbins. And you said, to storm the island, sometimes you've got to burn your boats. And I am telling that to anyone who will listen. So to work with someone who probably does the research and learning from people like Tony Robbins that sometimes I haven't had the time to do, and to provide a perfect quote for me at the perfect moment that I've used as a talisman, has just, been transformative. And when I'm wobbly, I just go back to that quote.
And what I love about you is not only do you take these things You run with it. So for all the viewers and listeners at home, so I give this quote to Bronwyn after I've heard it, then she goes and does the research. She's like, well, do you want to know where this comes from?
Yes, I did.
She gets all the background research, really backs that up, and then, yep, I'm following this path. And you sure as heck did.
I did.
Massive confidence to decide to do what you did in terms of burning those boats and just really going for it now, which I know you were doing. So if you were to do a quick reflection on your coaching journey about your personal and professional growth, what would you say you've noticed?
I have noticed that I needed it, that it absolutely came along at a point in time where I needed this coaching, I needed the accountability, I needed a trusted friend and expert like you to work with. And I would call you a friend now as well as a coach, because of that rapport that you build and that authenticity to the relationship. I would say that anyone who is thinking of getting coaching and just choose that door, don't second guess not this coaching piece, because you will get absolutely something out of it, if not so many things out of it. But it's kind of also up to you through the process. Do the homework, don't do the homework, follow the advice, use the tools, don't use the tools. And the whole follow your instinct and gut, no matter whether you've got a partner at home that also provides good counsel. I think what is really great is the objectivity that you bring as well. You're not an existing friend, you're not a family member, so you are also able to take that objective lens with the advice that you give, and it's very trusted advice. And that's why I've also recently referred, a friend in a similar executive level to me to you, which I wouldn't do unless obviously I'd gotten a lot out of the process.
I sincerely appreciate that, and thank you. And I think that's an interesting point you raise, actually, because whether if you're in a partnership, you might have a partner at home who is your trusted counsel, who's giving you advice, or you might have family members who are chiming in. It may or may not be good advice, whatever, we're receiving this information. But I think the idea of having an accountability partner is so important. And you can be, as you're gauging from Bronwyn, she's switched on, she's at a great level, she keeps things on track, like she runs a tight ship. But this opportunity to have someone who's running the race with you and also shine the light on it in another direction is so important. It allows us to get insights we haven't had before, to stay on track when we're feeling wobbly. And, from your perspective, Bronwyn, what did you find about that was just a real key takeaway for you for having that accountability partner?
I think it is, you actually do have to do the work. Yeah. You can manifest to your heart's content, but unless you're following the tactics that you gave me, to be honest, unless you're improving your resume, unless you're improving your LinkedIn profile, having the conversations, you're actually not going to achieve your next step. So the manifesting and the vision needs to be part and parcel with the work. And so the ability to, again, have that accountability buddy, because I had 2 weeks in between our sessions. So I would typically have a bit of a rest, weekend 1, and then do the work weekend 2, which worked for me.
Yes, definitely. And that's something as well that coaching can very much fit in with your lifestyle. And you can have, you can work full time as Bronwyn is and have your coaching and do all your other activities. And it's not going to be overwhelming because it's designed, or specifically my coaching is, to fit in with your lifestyle so that we're taking considered action along the way, and each one of those steps layers on to the next. And then you get that rolling sense of momentum. And that's what's so great about having that accountability partner in the piece, to, give you that loving kick in the pants every now and again and say, hey, did we get that done this week?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you were to just have a quick reflection on this coaching journey, is there anything else you would like to add about what you experienced, or sharing your insights, anything else at all?
I mean, I would just say invest in yourself. So, we invest in a lot of other things in our lives. And if we're driven, aspirational people, at whatever that success may look like, the coaching and working with someone yourself is a great investment. And I was speaking to a friend recently who's taken on a new senior role, and she's got a family and 3 kids and a partner, and she was really debating spending that money on herself. And I just counseled her that this will really lift her up into this next role. It will help her and her family because it will actually help her succeed.
That's it.
So, you might be thinking of buying the new bike, which I did anyway as well. You might be wanting to invest in other things like a pedicure and a manicure, but this is massive value for money for what you provide, and that self-development, I think, is the biggest investment you can make, I would say.
Yeah, sensational. And as Warren Buffett put it, the best investment we can make is in ourselves.
And I knew you would have the quote, and I knew the quote, but I didn't know who to attribute it to. So I was, I was like, he's going to have it.
That's it. And the thing is, I mean, you're so spot on. We don't think twice about, getting going to the hairdresser, buying the new outfit, whatever the things are.
Yeah.
And yet when it comes to investing in ourselves in something like this, we're like, ooh, should we? Ooh, will it? And but it makes complete sense that we should.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we always learn something new. There's always some extra growth we can have in the piece, and then the tools and the skills we use, as you know, specifically from my programmer for a lifetime. So they never go out of fashion.
No, I've got a drawer full of them that I need to pull out again.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insights with me today. And for all those who are listening and tuning in today, if you're at a form of crossroads, whether it's to do with your career, your business, your life, broadly speaking, please feel free to check out the programs we have to offer at thelifecoachingco.com.au. You can also find us on Facebook. That's facebook.com/The Life Coaching Co. And we are on Instagram as well, simply at The Life Coaching Co. So thank you so much again, Bronwyn, for joining us today. I sincerely appreciate you sharing your insights. Can't wait to see what happens next as you're now taking this island. And remember, everybody at home, you just got to master your mindset, secure your success.